Well, tonight we're going to be talking about your pancreas. Can you see what's happening here? Crisis, 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 crisis. And so eventually the pancreas just says, I'm done with this. I've had enough. Over here we're going to put a list of some of the causes.
Dr. Barbara O'Neill is a world-renowned health expert. She remains a strong advocate for holistic and natural health, with countless testimonies to support her methods and techniques. Today, she will be exposing to us the 6 foods that are destroying your pancreas. Make sure to watch until the end so you don't miss any of this valuable information. Before we begin, let's use 45 seconds to know why our pancreas is extremely important.
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about your pancreas. And your pancreas controls your blood glucose levels. And when the pancreas is not working well, then a person will possibly be diagnosed with a condition called diabetes. Now the pancreas, there's the big P, it releases insulin. Now what insulin does, it gets the blood sugar level down. Insulin unlocks the door to get the glucose inside the cell. You see, when blood glucose levels are high, then high insulin's released. In fact, insulin's got a one-set mind. I must store, I must store, I must store. So a lot of people with diabetes, you'll find they're carrying excess weight. Because what's their brain doing? Through insulin, I must store.
Dr. Barbara O'Neill explains the function of your pancreas, emphasizing how important it is for controlling blood sugar levels in your body. Your pancreas is a small organ located behind your stomach, but its job is huge. Dr. Barbara describes it as your organ that helps keep your blood sugar balanced by producing 2 key hormones, including insulin and glucagon. Insulin is like a key that helps sugar, glucose, from the food you eat move into your cells, where it's either used for energy or stored for later.
Now there's another hormone that the pancreas releases, and it's glucagon. But if blood glucose levels go too low, glucagon's released and it gets blood sugar levels up. So can you see the pancreas releases these 2 main hormones that are designed to keep that blood sugar as it should be.
When your blood sugar gets too low, your pancreas releases another hormone called glucagon. This hormone does the opposite of insulin. It raises your blood sugar by releasing stored glucose into your bloodstream. Dr. Barbara emphasizes that your pancreas keeps your blood sugar in balance by releasing these 2 hormones at the right times. This balance is critical for keeping your energy levels steady and preventing conditions like diabetes. 5 foods that destroy your pancreas. The first food is carbohydrates.
But what's happening on this high carbohydrate diet? Huge amounts of glucose are being released, come to the cell, and something starts to develop. It's called insulin resistance. Have you heard of it? Basically, the cell wall says, I'm sick of the sight of you. I'm sick of the sight of you. So it starts to resist. It starts to resist. And the glucose is still in the blood. And the brain's going, oh dear, quick pancreas, more insulin, more insulin, more insulin. But what's the problem? It's not lack of insulin, it's actually insulin resistant. And so eventually the pancreas just says, I'm done with this. I've had enough. I'm worn out. So it's not long after insulin resistance that diabetes happens.
Dr. Barbara O'Neill explains how a high carbohydrate diet can contribute to the development of insulin resistance, which causes destruction of your pancreas, eventually leading to diabetes. A high carbohydrate diet can lead to repeatedly high levels of glucose in your blood. When insulin is constantly being released to store this excess glucose inside your cells will gradually become resistant to the repeated action of insulin. This leads to excess glucose staying in the blood instead of being stored inside the cell. The presence of this excess glucose in your blood causes your pancreas to produce more insulin until your pancreas wears itself out. This leads to destruction of your pancreas and diabetes. The second food is margarine.
What about margarine? What margarine does, well, it's an altered fat, and it begins blocking the receptor sites on the cell for insulin. In fact, margarine is so toxic it's one molecular structure short of plastic. So if you're going to eat margarine, you should eat the container it comes in. It's a saturated fat. If it was polyunsaturated, you'd open the lid and it'd all move, all be liquid. You see that?
Dr. Barbara highlights that margarine can block the receptor sites on your cells that are designed to respond to insulin. When these sites are blocked, insulin cannot do its job of moving glucose into the cells. This contributes to insulin resistance. Over time, this can lead to destruction of your pancreas due to forced insulin overproduction and increase your risk of diabetes. Dr. Barbara also points out that margarine is a saturated fat, which means it stays solid at room temperature. Dr. Barbara contrasts this with polyunsaturated fats, which would be liquid at room temperature if left in their natural state. Margarine's solid form indicates it's been heavily processed and is not a healthy fat for your body. Kindly like this video and subscribe to our channel to encourage us. The third food is refined sugar.
We had the CEO of one of the big sugar mills in Australia come and do our program. He told me there's 15 teaspoons of sugar in 1 can of Coke. Do you know how much sugar cane is required for 1 teaspoon? About 1 metre. Have you ever eaten sugar cane? How long does it take to get through 2 inches? How long would it take to get through 15 metres? In other words, a can of Coke should take you about the time to drink as it takes to eat 15 metres. Yeah? You see where it's just overload. So over here we're going to put a list of some of the causes, and we're going to put refined sugar. And this is the pure crystallized acid that's extracted from the sugarcane plant.
Dr. Barbara O'Neill highlights the serious negative impact of refined sugar on your pancreas, using the example of common sugary beverages like Coke to illustrate just how excessive sugar consumption has become in modern diets. According to Dr. Barbara, a single can of Coke contains a staggering 15 teaspoons of sugar. When you consume refined sugar, your body processes it rapidly, leading to an instant energy boost, followed by a crash. This continuous roller coaster effect can result in stress on your pancreas as it is required to repeatedly release high levels of insulin and glucagon on control the sudden rise and sudden crash in blood sugar levels. Constant stress on pancreas can lead to destruction of the pancreas and diabetes. The fourth food is wheat.
Let me show you on the glycemic index. The glycemic index is a reading of how quickly the food we eat breaks down to glucose. So your baseline with glycemic index would be 55. So anything below 55 is considered low GI. So that's good food for diabetics. Anything above 55 is considered high. That means it goes into the blood, into glucose very quick. So let me give you something to compare. So cherries are about 26. So cherries are good for diabetics. Grapefruit, I think we all realise that would be fairly low, 25. So where does sugar sit? Whether it's white or tan or brown or black. Sugar sits at 59. That's not a surprise.
Dr. Barbara O'Neill explains the significant impact of wheat on your body, particularly regarding blood sugar levels and its implications for managing diabetes. The glycemic index, also known as GI, measures how quickly the foods you eat break down into glucose in your bloodstream. Dr. Barbara explains that a baseline GI score is 55. Foods with a GI below 55 are considered low GI, making them better choices for maintaining stable sugar levels in your body. Conversely, anything above 55 is high GI, meaning it can cause your sugar level to spike quickly. Barbara teaches that different forms of sugar, whether white, brown, or black, have a GI of 59, which can raise your sugar levels fairly quickly.
Where does wheat sit? Let's start with refined white bread, white pasta. So we'll call it the whites. White wheat, we'll call it 69. 69? Do you know what that means? A slice of white bread will get the blood sugar level up higher and quicker than a candy? And how many are a combination of these two? There's your donuts. You know, the healthiest thing about the donut's the hole. You've probably heard that one. So cookies, biscuits, cakes. You go into a cake shop, everything is a combination of these two. I'm glad you're sitting down because this next information's shocking. Wholemeal. Wholemeal wheat. Where does wholemeal wheat sit at? 72. Whew. How could wholemeal wheat get the blood sugar level up quicker and higher than white bread or a sugar? Or, mercy. Let me explain. Because it's not refined, it's got more amylopectin A in it. You see that?
Dr. Barbara points out that many treats you might enjoy, like donuts, cookies, and cakes, often combine refined wheat with sugar, creating a powerful combo that can spike your sugar levels. The mixture of these two high GI components leads to rapid increases in glucose, complicating blood sugar management and putting stress on your pancreas. One of the most shocking insights Dr. Barbara shares is that wholemeal wheat has an even higher glycemic index of 72. This means it can elevate your sugar levels quicker and higher than white bread or even sugar itself. Wholemeal wheat has more amylopectin units, which are digested rapidly, causing a quicker release of glucose into your bloodstream. The consumption of high GI foods can put a strain on your pancreas, as it needs to produce more insulin to manage the sudden spikes in your sugar level. Over time, this can lead to insulin resistance and other metabolic issues.
So what do we eat? Rye hasn't been changed, hasn't been genetically modified. Either has oats. And you can get some wild hybrids from the original wheat. It's called spelt. And I'm pretty sure you can get spelt.
Dr. Barbara suggests oats are excellent choice. Oats contain soluble fiber, which helps slow down the absorption of glucose, keeping your sugar levels stable. Dr. Barbara also introduces spelt, a type of wheat that hasn't undergone genetic modification. Spelt is an ancient grain that can be a healthier alternative to modern wheat varieties. It contains more nutrients and protein than common wheat and may be easier to digest for some people. The fifth food is caffeine.
Caffeine. Oh, yes, there it is. Do you know caffeine causes the pancreas to release, it actually causes the pancreas to release glucagon, because when a person has a cup of coffee, their body thinks there's a crisis. That's why you actually get a little bit of a lift. The body thinks there's a crisis. And so in a crisis, it's got to have more glucose. So can you see that is released to release that to give some more glucose. So what happens is the pancreas gets this response.
Dr. Barbara O'Neill explains how caffeine affects your pancreas and blood sugar levels, highlighting its role in triggering a stress response in your body. When you consume caffeine, like in a cup of coffee, your body reacts as if there's a crisis happening. This reaction causes your pancreas to release glucagon, a hormone that raises your blood sugar levels by releasing stored glucose into your bloodstream. This is why you often feel that quick energy boost after having coffee. Your body is preparing to handle what it perceives as an emergency. Dr. Barbara highlights that caffeine tricks your body into thinking there's a crisis, causing your pancreas to release glucagon and flood your bloodstream with glucose. This rise in glucose is followed by a surge in insulin, which works to bring your blood sugar levels back down. Dairy.
Why dairy? The book The China Study, Dr. Colin Campbell, he shows that children that have cow's milk in the first year of life, they can develop a 60% greater risk of developing type 1 diabetes. Why? Well, because we only have one stomach. And by the way, the only real milk that a human being can handle is feta or yogurt. That's actually what cows' 5 stomachs get it down to. But it's not that I'm saying eat feta and yogurt, because the state of the cows today is not good. It's not good.
Dr. Barbara O'Neill discusses the implications of dairy consumption, particularly cow's milk, on your health, specifically its connection to type 1 diabetes and overall well-being. According to Dr. Barbara, the only dairy products that humans can truly handle well are feta cheese and yogurt. These products have undergone fermentation, which breaks down lactose and makes them easier to digest. They also contain beneficial probiotics that can support gut health. However, Dr. Barbara cautions against consuming these dairy products due to the current state of dairy farming. She points out that many dairy cows today are not raised in humane or healthy conditions, which can impact the quality of the milk and dairy products produced. Dr. Barbara encourages exploring plant-based alternatives to dairy, such as almond milk, oat milk, or coconut yogurt, which can provide nutritional benefits without the potential risks associated with cow's milk. These alternatives are often lower in saturated fat and can be easier on your digestive system. Will you remove any of these foods from your diet? Kindly let us know in the comments.